Going on, Jerome's coming into the season. One of the fun questions surrounding the Minnesota Vikings and the new offense was, could superstar wide receiver Justin freaking Jefferson eclipse 2,000 yards receiving? And yes, 17-game season, but could he make a run at Megatron's 2012 record of 1964 yards, which is ironic because 1964 was the last year that the Lions were viable. Got him. And Justin Jefferson is second in the league right now in receiving with 867 yards, only trailing Tyreek Hill, but also the Dolphins haven't had their bye. But, I mean, Tyreek has been ridiculous, man. But question is, can Jefferson potentially get after that 2K? Let's examine. So far this season, Jefferson has 867 yards receiving, like we said. He's currently on pace for 125 catches, 1,842 yards, and 6 touchdowns. We need to get him in the end zone more, by the way. Whatever. But mostly he's been pretty consistent throughout the season. Only 2 real dud games: the Monday night game against Darius Big Play Slay and the Eagles. And then for some reason, Jeff Okudah and company, they shut him down week 3. It's whatever. But since then, he's had 98 plus yards in every single game. He's really dominated, really gotten out there, man. And I love that he's had double-digit targets in 5 out of the 8 contests this season. So it's clear that Kevin O'Connell, even when teams are doubling and bracketing and giving him cornerback 1 attention, I mean, Kevin O'Connell and Kirk Cousins still like, hey, he's going to get the ball. He's going to get the rock, and I absolutely love that. So Jefferson is making some good headway so far, but the rest of the way, it's going to be a little tough. Now, yes, before you say, well, who cares about personal stats? It's all about wins. Yes, we fully understand that, but let people enjoy things. Let us have our fun. But it is going to be a bit of a tough path because the remaining teams on the schedule, Bills, Cowboys, Patriots, Jets, the Lions, again, whatever, Colts, Giants, Packers, Bears, they're not exactly very friendly to fantasy wide receivers. So we did the fantasy rankings of the remaining teams as well as looking at the cornerback 1. So Tre'Davious White could be activated, maybe. So it could be an LSU thing. Who really knows? But either way, obviously Leslie Frazier and the Buffalo Bills are pretty damn good. They're 4th in the league in yards allowed. So it's going to be a tough day, especially with the cold, with the wind. It's not going to be conducive to the passing game. And then you're at home 5 out of 6 games. Cowboys, you got Trevon Diggs. Now, the open secret about Diggs is that he will gamble on passes. He will be that ball hawk, but he also gives up a ton of yards. He gave up 1,000 yards receiving in coverage last year. So that could be a big game for Jefferson. Thursday night, Patriots, short week. Jack Jones really rising up. The pride of Arizona State really looking good. They got Sauce Gardner, week 13. He's already that traveling alpha cornerback 1 following wide receiver 1. So respect to Sauce Gardner. And then you got the Lions, where it's weird because the Lions shut down Jefferson, but they're one of the worst teams in the league in terms of fantasy points allowed to receivers. And they do still have Jeff Okudah and company. So we'll see what happens. And they got the Colts. Stephon Gilmore, yes, he still got it, even though the Colts, not so much. And you have to take some of these stats with a grain of salt because the Colts, Packers, Bears, I mean, their fantasy numbers are so low in terms of allowed to receivers because it's so easy to run on them. But whatever. Giants, Adoree Jackson, the pride of USC, Packers, Jair Alexander. Maybe they'll actually let him travel with Justin Jefferson as opposed to whatever the hell they did week 1. And then, of course, the Bears week 18, Jalen Johnson. We'll see if his shoulder is good to go. So he has to average 125.9 yards per game the rest of the way, which he's eclipsed a number of times this season. 3 against the Bears, the Saints, as well as opening game against the Packers. So, I mean, it certainly is possible that Jefferson just catches fire the second half of the season and really takes it to it. But I don't know. Again, it's a fun personal statistical milestone, and it would be a nice cherry on top of an already fun season for this team. But some reasons why he'll get it. Number 1, he's Justin frickin' Jefferson. Yes. Number 2, the offense is improving. He's putting up these numbers in an offense that's just still trying to get its legs underneath it, still learning the new Kevin O'Connell scheme. And you see that they are improving every single week, growing and showing, etc. And also Hawkinson. I think Hawkinson being a threat over the middle of the field, it's not going to allow safeties to bracket Jefferson as much. It's going to take attention away from number 18. So him singled up on the outside more and more, it's going to be really big. Also, guys like Thielen and KJ have to step up as well. Why he won't? So the Vikings certainly could clinch early on. So the Vikings may be in the clubhouse, both with the NFC North and maybe even securing the 2 seed. And maybe the Eagles are running away with it with the 1 seed. So they may be pigeonholed week 17, week 18 at Green Bay, at Chicago. So they may sit some of their starters. It is a realistic possibility. And then defense is doubling. I mean, defenses, Jefferson is always going to be public enemy number 1, no matter what. And the thing about Jefferson is that he's risen above, but sometimes it's still a tough road to hoe. I mean, sometimes defensive coordinators are so ego-driven. It's like, hey, anyone else can beat us, and the Vikings can put up 49 points, and Thielen can go off for 2 touchdowns, Hawkinson can have 150 yards, and Dalvin can run wild. But hey, as long as 18 doesn't beat us, I did my job. Also, so again, one of the dirty secrets about passing yards is often you're down. Right, so you're chucking the ball around. That's why quarterback passing yards is one of the most hollow and misleading stats in the game, because there's a difference between throwing because you're so dominant and then building up a big lead, or throwing out of desperation and catching up, and those yards still count the same. Same things for receivers, but I don't necessarily see spots where the Vikings are going to be playing in catch-up, where they're down. Well, I shouldn't say where they're down double digits, because we've seen that a number of times already this year. But when they're in frantic catch-up mode, where they just get woodshedded, and then all of a sudden Kirk is putting up garbage time stats and Jefferson is putting up garbage time yards, I don't necessarily see that. Or like we said about Megatron, when he had 1964 in 2012, the Lions went 4-12. And Stafford, yes, had almost 5,000 yards passing, but it was meaningless because they were in catch-up mode all the time. I don't necessarily see that this year, especially with Dalvin starting to heat up and the offensive line. Interior pass blocking, maybe not so much, but they can certainly still run block. But we'll see. I think Jefferson does have a chance, and would absolutely love to see it, because he's very deserving of it, and it would firmly establish him as the wide receiver 1 in the National Football League. And then, hey, maybe ESPN and NFL Network can talk about Justin Jefferson without mentioning Jamar Chase. Did you know they were teammates back in the day? Just whatever. But your thoughts are thoughts. Can Justin Jefferson hit 2K receiving yards? Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skull Production Value.